"The end is nigh," he said. That means it's real close. Like, open the door and it's just standing there, close. Usually I'd ignore whatever came out of his mouth, especially if it was words. But I don't know. Something about it just didn't sit right with me. He was a hand-me-down of sorts. Left chained in the basement from the previous owner. Gave me a real fright when I found him, let me tell you. I considered calling the previous owner, or the police. But imagine all the paperwork, and I'm not good with paperwork. Or people. He's not people. Not really. He kinda looks like people, if people were morbidly skinny and had teeth on the sides of their mouth, and if their skin was a lustrous shade of gray. When he looks at you with those impossibly round peepers, man, it gives me the creeps. That's not to say I don't appreciate him. I kinda do, however off-putting he is. To such an extent that I'm used to vomiting at the sight of him. He's got a real talent for staying alive. That first night I sat with him for hours, trying to figure out what to do with him. Releasing him was on the table back then, but something about the way he talked without making a sound made me question the sentiment. Maybe there was a reason why the previous owners kept him chained up in the basement. "Haley," he'd say without actually saying it, "unleash me upon this feeble world, and we shall feast upon the flesh of succulent newborns." "I'm sorry," I replied. "That's not really my thing." So I left him down there for months. The proposal of juicy baby flesh, kinda not the right incentive for me back then. I figured I'd maybe just pawn him off on the next guy, should I ever sell the place. But life has a strange way of shoving its headless children in your face, you know? That's what he did, the clever little bastard. One day I woke to find them screaming in my head. Weird, I know. How exactly do you scream without a head? Anyway, things got weirder from there. Blood in my bathtub, body parts in my lunch. My left eye growing a new eye. Strange times. It was his way of inviting me down there again. Mission accomplished, I guess. "Haley," he said when I waltzed in there. "You do not want to ignore me." I folded my arms sternly. "Oh yeah?" I said. "Why's that?" "Because if I die, the heavens will crumble. The ground will bleed and reality will decay." I shrugged. "Not my problem," I said. And it's not, really, is it? I got enough on my plate as it is. Jobs, bills, useless boyfriend, disappointed parents. Life is hard enough without adding the responsibilities of nurturing existence, you know? But then he went and said that thing. "The end is nigh." So what do you think? Screw him, right? Did I ever tell you the story about the zipper girl? Donna Martinez. Oh, it's such a good one. Donna had eyes like a mandolin, complex and dry. She smiled like a monsoon, whatever that means. And her hair had the wavelength of filthy light. She was special, is what I'm getting at. So, when she disappeared, the whole town was in an uproar. I remember the night we found the zipper girl vividly. Cold air, warm beer, tepid cigarettes, chilling in Dan the dog's car. It was Dan the dog, Dan the dog's dog, Danny, the guy in the back seat that we sort of knew, but never remembered the name of, and me. The moon shone bright like an overhead Ouija board, and we were all wasted on some pills the guy in the back seat offered us when Dan the dog pulled into the parking lot up by Fletcher's Peak. "Hey, what's that?" I said. "What?" Dan the dog asked. "I don't see anything." It was definitely something. A girl. I could see her up by the peak, all wave-lengthy hair and monsoon smile, except she wasn't smiling, and she didn't have hair anymore. Her eyes were no longer like a mandolin either, more like a stained old clavicylinder. "The hell, that's Donna!" I exclaimed. "No way in hell," Dan the dog said. "Way, no way," Dan the dog's dog Danny said, although I may have hallucinated that particular part. The guy in the back seat nodded furiously. "That's her all right," he said. "I remember her nose. It's like watching a movie in reverse. You don't really understand that kind of crap, and it feels deeply unsettling, but you can't stop looking at it." We all nodded at this rather astute observation. While we were busy discussing her reality-defying facial features, she had slowly sauntered toward us, and all of a sudden her reversed movie nose was squished up against the window like an inquisitive Eiffel Tower. "Please unzip me," she mumbled. I opened the door, and it suddenly struck me. She was naked. Au natural. Her bald head reflected the Ouija board light from the moon with some intensity, and somehow that made me more uncomfortable than anything else. "Unzip me." Look, I can make excuses all day for what I did next. I was high, wasted, Brahms and Liszt. I should have questioned it, but I didn't. Without a hesitation, I grabbed the zipper up by her throat, and in a single motion, I pulled it down to her navel. It's the sound that still haunts me. Can you imagine organs and blood schlumping out of her like a sludgy meat river, one on top of the other? For a moment, the mandolin returned to her face, and she whispered, "Thank you," before collapsing in the pulpy remnants of her own innards. No one ever figured out who made the Zipper Girl. But, man, I'm never accepting pills from the guy in the back seat that we sort of know but can't quite remember the name of ever again. Hi, I'm looking for someone to take care of my beautiful, beautiful boy. He's well behaved, probably around 7. Dirty blonde hair, 1 tongue, 2 eyes, a head and a neck. I suspect he was born with legs and arms, but I can't be sure of this, as he may have grown them later. He goes by the name of the End of the World, but you can just call him Isaac. You can feed him, but he does not require sustenance most days. He'll eat the scabs off your wounds, or the loose skin hanging from the edge of your fingernails, or any old part of the body, dead or not, should the need arise. He bathes himself regularly in various liquids and generally doesn't smell. That is to say, you'll get used to it over time. And by that I mean, you'll learn not to use your nose around him. Cellular memory, I believe they call it. He doesn't talk back, or indeed talk at all. He might attempt to signal you with his eyes, though, so you'll quickly learn to recognize the sound of them dangling against each other. Please do not let him wait. He will not hesitate to crawl into your mind. He is such a sweetheart, though. He will sit for hours just staring at you, eyes touching eyes. Should he slither away, please let him. Do not attempt to follow or restrain him. Should he bring home friends, I'd suggest leaving the house for a bit. The sounds can get pretty intense. He'll clean up after himself, but I wouldn't be around for that part either. You'll slowly waste away, but that's okay. It's natural. You don't need organs on the inside. That's medical propaganda. Lies. They work just fine on the outside, too. Black boils, shaped like screaming faces on your skin? Perfectly manageable. Quite becoming, even. Spongy placenta mushrooms sprouting in and around your genitals? Delicious. Tastes just like murder. This is a gift. An honor. Remember that. Isaac needs you. He needs you now. And the world needs Isaac. If you are reading this, you know. Deep down, you know. You know the world is a hate-filled, black, bulging cyst of corpse vomit ready to burst. He will make sure it happens. He needs someone to help him grow, is all. It's a small price to pay, wouldn't you agree? Your body, your sanity, your life, your soul. He sees you now. He feels you. The moment you internally processed his name, he became aware of you. He wants you. Do not be afraid when he comes. When he one day slides into your bed, let his tongue caress your eyes. Let his eyes caress your tongue. His oozing pus flesh will feel strange against your skin at first, but with time, you'll not only accept it, you'll come to cherish it, to love it. Please, take care of him. Until you no longer can. Thank you.